ever considered that she would ever come out and say that, and she didn't. She wants to keep Kelsey Mitchell on the team. She wants to run it back. This time with her being able to be involved, healthy, and try to win a championship. I don't know a whole lot of people that's calling for Kelsey to be let go outside of the key fact of the economics of all this. And that's what people are bringing up, right? People are saying, look, you can pay $1.4 million for one player, or you can pay
Caitlin Clark appeared on NBC's Basketball Night in America segment, where she addressed two of the biggest topics surrounding the Indiana Fever heading into the 2026 season, the newly ratified CBA and the roster situation, specifically what happens with Kelsey Mitchell. On the Mitchell question, Clark was direct. She named Mitchell as the team's top priority in free agency, calling her a backcourt partner who makes everything easier on the floor.
Or you can pay $700,000 twice for two good players. All right? And I think that's a lot of people's thought process with the Indiana Fever. You're getting a 2-for-1 if you decide to let Kelsey walk. A lot of people have also said, oh, this is just going to work because, well, Caitlin's not on a max yet. Okay, you're still talking about, $2.93 million of the...
Mitchell earned first-team All-WNBA honors last season, and Clark made clear the goal is to bring her back and compete for a championship with the full group healthy and together. That is not a subtle signal, that is a public statement aimed directly at the front office about which direction the roster should go. The economics of that decision are complicated, though.
$3 million of the salary cap gone, just like that, with 3 players. You got to get 7 more players on this team. Unless you just want to run a bunch of whatever out there on the court with these 3. Maybe some people believe you can win a team that way. I believe a team needs to have some kind of depth if you want to win championships. Now, I would be remiss in not...
Mitchell is coming off a contract in the range of $1.4 million. The argument from some corners is that letting her walk opens up the budget to add 2 solid players at roughly half that price each. That math becomes even tighter when factoring in that Clark, while not yet on a maximum deal, still accounts for a significant portion of the cap alongside Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston.
Now, I would be remiss in not pointing out every team's got this problem now. Okay, every team has officially got this problem. I did a video the other day. The Liberty got this problem big time because they have 3 max players. One of them is likely not going to survive that. Caitlin Clark on Kelsey Mitchell.
Indiana Fever fans out there. Last time they went to the finals was 2015. Okay, you guys made the semis of the East last season. You had to watch from the side.
3 players eating close to $3 million of cap space leaves very little room to build the kind of depth a championship roster requires. Every team in the league is wrestling with some version of this problem. Right now, the New York Liberty, for example, are carrying 3 max-level players and will likely need to move one of them. What makes the Fever's situation more layered is the public nature of Clark's comments.
Fans out there. Last time they went to the finals was 2015. Okay, you guys made the semis of the East last season. You had to watch from the sideline.
Yeah, it was tough.
Expectations, goals of this season. What you got for me?
I mean, we were trying to win it all last year, and that's certainly what we're trying to do this year. It's a very unique situation. I think there's over 100 players in the league that are free agents, so we really only know about 5 people or 3 people that are going to be on our team next year. But I feel like we have a great core. Our first priority is to sign Kelsey Mitchell back. Was first team All WNBA last year. Kind of my running mate in the backcourt.
Right.
She makes it really easy for me. So, there's nothing like playing for the Fever. I think we're going to be the favorite to win it all.
If the front office decides the finances do not work and Mitchell ends up elsewhere, there is now a very real possibility that the most watched player in the sport enters the season unhappy with how her organization handled it. That is a dynamic worth paying close attention to as the offseason develops. On the CBA, Clark pointed to salary increases and revenue sharing as the most meaningful parts of the new agreement.
For me, so, there's nothing like playing for the Fever. I think we're going to be the favorite to win it all. It adds a little pressure, but that's what you love about it. And we got a great squad, a great coach, great support staff, so super excited.
Okay, well, we're looking forward to
Check this out. The other thing about these comments, Indiana Fever, Good luck if you let Kelsey Mitchell go. Caitlin Clark has publicly sent a directive straight to the Indiana Fever front office and leadership.
She framed the deal as something bigger than basketball, a marker for women's sports broadly, establishing that the product and the players behind it carry real economic value. She acknowledged that reaching the agreement required significant sacrifice from the people involved on both sides, with negotiations stretching into early morning hours and pulling people away from their families for extended stretches. Clark also briefly touched on expansion, referencing the Connecticut Sun's relocation to Houston as part of the league's broader growth plans moving forward.
Straight to the Indiana Fever front office and leadership. What happens if you can't re-sign her? If she ultimately doesn't want to stay? Or if leadership believes they need to let her go? This is going to get so interesting because if Kelsey Mitchell goes, you run the risk of the best player on the planet being very disgruntled. So I'm just pointing that out. Now, Caitlin Clark also talked about this.
Beyond the substance of what she said, the appearance itself drew notable attention. Fans arrived at the NBC event specifically because Clark was there, showing up with jerseys, bringing young children in numbers that reportedly exceeded the crowd at other recent events held at the same venue. As a television presence, Clark carries the two qualities that matter most in that setting: genuine knowledge of the game and a natural likability that keeps people engaged.
Also talked about the CBA.
Between the WNBA and the WNBA about trying to get the CBA ratified.
Yeah.
Here we are.
We did it, baby.
It finally went down. I mean, when you take a look at what's outlined, what do you feel like is like the most transformative deal point?
I mean, I think the salary and revenue sharing, I think it's as simple as that. And obviously there's a lot of great things in the CBA as we move forward. But I think simply that, I think it sets a precedent for all of women's sports going forward, not just women's basketball, that we're truly valued and the product that we put on the floor is truly valued. So
those are not traits that automatically transfer from greatness on the court, and plenty of all-time players have struggled in broadcast roles. Clark appears to have both. The Chicago Sky have finally addressed the circumstances around Angel Reese's exit from the franchise, and the reaction from within the organization has been anything but neutral.
This is a crazy, crazy story. Let's get it pulled up right now. Shout out to Yahoo Sports said, ain't pulling punches. She locker room relieved she is gone. Angel Reese brings in the most upon herself. Now, we know a lot of Angel Reese fans have felt the type of way that, you know, a lot of people was targeting her in the media. People was talking about her, so on and so forth. Now, this right here says, right, while Reese quickly...
An anonymous individual connected to the Sky spoke to Yahoo Sports, describing the atmosphere inside the locker room following the trade, and the picture that emerged was one of collective relief. Reese was moved to the Atlanta Dream earlier in the week, and while she publicly welcomed the transition, sharing posts on social media and debuting a new look, the mood back in Chicago told a different story. According to the source quoted by the Daily Mail, tension between Reese and the team had been building for a considerable period.
Embraced her new chapter, celebrating her on social media and stepping out in the public with the new hairstylist, and an anonymous source close to the Chicago Sky organization claims the move has brought significant relief inside their locker room. Some of these quotes reported by the Daily Mail are brutal. One quote stated, "There has been so much apprehension between the team and her, and everyone is happy that they don't."
The statement was pointed. The group had grown exhausted managing the fallout from her repeated controversies, regardless of whether those controversies were entirely her doing or not. The source made clear there was no lingering goodwill, and that when Reese returns to face the Sky with her new team, she will be treated as any other opponent. The sentiment shared was straightforward. Everyone in that building is glad she is no longer part of it.
Don't have to deal with her various controversies, whether she brings it on herself or otherwise, the insider said, according to the outlet. There is no love lost, and when Angel returns for a Chicago game with her new team, she will be the enemy. But everyone with the Sky is very, very happy that she is gone. Think about that, guys. Somebody from the Sky said that they're very happy.
That kind of statement, coming from someone within the organization, puts to rest a narrative that had been circulating among her supporters, the idea that outside criticism of Reese was rooted in bias rather than legitimate concern. The internal feedback confirms that the friction was real, consistent, and significant enough to shape a major roster decision. Separately, Indiana Fever guard Lexi Hull found herself at the center of a different kind of conversation after an interview began drawing widespread criticism.
Angel Reese is gone. Now, this goes out to all of the Angel Reese fans, man. Everybody, right? Y'all tried to say that Angel Reese was not the problem. A lot of Angel Reese fans has been having this argument that, you know what, everybody else is the problem. Angel is not the problem at all. People don't like Angel because she get boards, she popping, she all of these.
Hull had recently launched a makeup line, and the interview in question appeared to be tied to that venture. However, the discussion shifted toward topics surrounding women's basketball, fan culture, and the scrutiny that players face in the public eye. During the interview, Hull spoke about the weight of increased visibility, noting that while growing attention on the sport brings genuine excitement, it also invites a level of personal commentary that crosses appropriate boundaries when it turns into direct attacks on character.
Different said things, but in actuality, you feel me? Angel is the problem, man. And it's just crazy to me that people will get on their social media platforms and do all of these different things and make it seem like Angel Reese is just such an angel. She's not, man. She's not. She's very toxic, and she really probably need to go seek some counseling. Now, with that being said, let's move on to this other story. We have to talk about the Lexi Hull.
When asked whether she had personally experienced that kind of treatment, she acknowledged it was likely, adding that avoiding comment sections had become a deliberate practice. Hull also addressed the Fever's rising profile and what it means when opposing teams face a franchise that now carries significant national recognition.
Hall thing. So just like I stated, I reported on Lexi Hull yesterday, and last night while reporting on Lexi Hull, I thought she was talking about other fan bases. Now, since everybody has reacted to it, that's what I told y'all, man. Like with a bunch of these stories, everybody gonna react to them like 10, 12 hours after we drop the video. Now, these are reports starting to come out, man. It says during an interview with people that are not here for women basketball is not smart. Lexi Hull is getting a lot of backlash from this interview.
Her assessment was measured. She credited competitor motivation not to any resentment toward Indiana specifically, but to the universal drive to win and perform for their own fans and teammates. On the question of whether games against the Fever had become more physically intense, she suggested the sport has always been physical and that social media tends to amplify isolated moments into broader narratives.
And we'll play some of it here in a minute. Somebody said he's a good journalist and covers many topics on all types of sports. She needs to get used to answering these tough questions. So if you guys don't know, Lexi Hull released a makeup line. So more than likely, this interview was supposed to be about her makeup line. Somebody said exactly, and you'll think she'll know this by now. A quick scan of his page told me all I need to know. A lot of people was going at the reporter too, kind of putting Lexi up against the wall.
The backlash directed at Hull following the interview struck many observers as disproportionate. Nothing in her comments suggested hostility or dismissiveness.
Well, let's listen. Let's run it back.
I think the most challenging part is there's just so much scrutiny. People have opinions online, and unfortunately, that's part of the job and the role that we play. I think people should focus on us as people need to know that everyone's human. We're real people. I think that when things get blown out of proportion, when things get really personal and there's personal attacks on people's character, I think that's where it's over the line.
She spoke from personal experience, stayed composed throughout, and offered perspectives that were measured rather than inflammatory. The criticism appeared to stem more from the context of who conducted the interview and the platform it aired on than from anything Hull actually said.